Mm-hmm.
My question is, what can we do to help younger people in their relationship with God?
Oh, I love
Talk
this
about
question.
our relationship, our horizontal relationship,
Mm.
one to another, how older people can relate to younger people, and how you as a youth pastor relate to younger people. How do we get younger people to get their vertical relationship correct? Because, I don't know, you have to have both relationships
Oh yeah.
intact. So,
Mm-hmm.
this relationship is the most important one.
Correct.
This is the one that we wake up to almost every day, is that
Yeah.
horizontal relationship, the
Yes, sir.
people, places, and things that we engage in. But how, as a young person, would you get another young person to increase or just embellish their relationship with God?
I would say this. We know that the secret sauce is relationships. And if you don't know, you know now. Put that in your pocket for later. The secret sauce is relationships, right? And it starts with a word, two words actually, that people love to throw out, but then don't really love to do the work behind it. The first word is accountability. We have to be accountable in our relationships, both to ourselves, to the standard of Christ, and also to our young people. What does that mean? If you say you're going to do something, do it. I'd rather you even under promise and over deliver than you to say you're gonna do something and not do it. We
Right.
talk. There's this term now that the young people use, and I hope I get this right. I'm still learning on some of this stuff. They say no cap, which means you're lying. Which means, excuse me, which means I'm not lying. So I could say, listen, I'm the best player in the state, in this sport. Somebody could say, oh, that's cap, you're lying. So now I have to make sure that my statements come off as me not lying. I have to be accountable. I have to be a person of my word. The second thing we have to do is we're going somewhere now. We have to allow vulnerability. A lot of people, a lot of leaders do not like being vulnerable. Why? Because oftentimes we don't deal with the vulnerabilities within ourselves, and therefore we don't allow people in. So now we have to be accountable and we have to be vulnerable. I'll put it to you like this. There's three different things that's going to help us expand that capacity in those two realms. A, we have to define the relationships. We have to define what it looks like. We have to define what it sounds like. And I'm not talking about the rosy version, when you first become a new Christian and God's answering all your prayers and you're excited because everything's going well. No, we have to talk about that, but we have to talk about the realness of relationships. Because if we're real, we know that sometimes relationships is wrestling. Relationships is being upset. Relationships is being questioning sometimes. Relationships is wrestling with things back and forth. But ultimately, it helps us do one thing. It stretches us. Therefore, it allows more room for capacity. So after we define the relationship, we have to stretch the relationship. That means I have to take them from a novice place to a middle line place, and then from a middle line place to another place, and then from another place to another place. The Bible says it like this: we go from faith to faith, from glory to glory. Now we have to stretch the capacity of the relationship. And after we've stretched it, we grow it. How do we grow it? We continue doing the same things, but at a different level. I'll say it like this: sports athletes. I work with sports athletes, and I love sports. During my days of coaching and working with athletes, one thing that's going to get you better as a player is you got to get in the gym. I don't care if you're shooting shots. I don't care if you're lifting weights. I don't care if you're running. You have to be in the gym. And what that does is it defines whether you're truly an athlete or you're not. It defines whether you're truly ready to take yourself to the next level or if you're just pretending to be that thing. That vulnerability and that accountability makes us define who we are. The second thing that the gym does, or that sprints do, or that lifting does, is it helps stretch the muscle that's been stagnant. And notice, once you stretch a muscle, that's where the growth comes from. That's where the breaking down of the actual muscle, the ripping of the muscle takes place. So that way we can get bigger. And then we get into the growth phase. After we stretch the muscle, we've ripped the muscle, then we can start building new muscle. And that's when we go from level to level to level to level in this walk, in this relationship. It's going to take those three things, but they all stem from accountability and vulnerability. And if we don't have those, then our relationship is marred. And then often, a lot of the older saints and seasoned saints don't want to pass something down to somebody who they don't think is capable of doing it. So now we have to look at the relationship of, do I see them in the proper light? do I see them in all their capacity, or do I just see them as a slowly leaking potential? What I mean by that is we have to look at our young people and say, listen, we know that the body is made up of different gifts, so we know that you fit somewhere. But now I have to keep my eyes on you to see how you develop in certain situations, how you respond to situations, to let you know if you're ready to grow or not. And I hate this. Some of our, and excuse my word, there's a strong word, but I hate that some of our leaders now, our giants, are passing on without them actually passing on the mantle. So now it's like the now it's like, where are the mantles? Because in your mind it was one way, but in God's mind it was another. But we were fighting that tension. We were wrestling that tension. So we didn't pass on the knowledge. We didn't pass on the definition. We didn't pass on the stretching. We didn't pass on the growing. So now we have a generation of new leaders that are constantly fighting friction and still trying to understand why I'm fighting so much friction. But the problem is we didn't seek proper mentorship. And so now we have to understand that the